Okay, I know today I am in a bit of a different spot than I usually am when it comes to recording my content for the channel, but I decided it would be pretty cool to do some sort of mini podcast discussion type thing where we just talk about a bunch of music subjects and I guess things along the lines of what people have asked me questions about in the past, as well as just information that I can kind of talk about and share with people on the way to a gig. I'm actually on the way to play a gig tonight from 6 to 8 o'clock. So we'll call this something like maybe like gig talks or something like that, and it'll just kind of be able to touch base on different subjects and hopefully inspire and just help out other people, especially subscribers that are subscribed to the channel. If they like videos like this, I'd like to do more just because I won't edit it very much. I want to keep it really raw and just kind of talk. And one thing that I was really thinking a lot about recently, personally for myself, was all about paying your dues and what that means and what that looks like. And you know, this can be with anything, but when it comes to music or in the music business, in the music world, I think people have a good understanding of at some point you're going to have to do what's called pay your dues. But I don't think people really have a full understanding of that until it's face to face with them in reality. And for me personally, I'm a full-time working musician. I teach private guitar lessons full-time, and I perform live as well. And in both aspects, you have to pay your dues in somewhat different ways. And I wanted to discuss this because I know a lot of people are interested in, you know, performing live or maybe becoming a working musician to whatever degree that is, with whatever that might mean. And there's a lot of things to kind of just simply learn and understand about that idea, because when I first started playing guitar, I always wanted to make a living with the guitar. I thought that was a really cool thing because my uncle did it, and it's definitely something that can be done, but you have to have a lot of good understanding of when things are slow, when you are just starting off your career in some aspect, what that looks like. Now, for me personally, when it comes to performing live, you know, now I'm fortunate enough to play nearly every single week and fit it into my teaching schedule at some really nice places, but it wasn't always like that. And I want to be very open and honest with everybody about that, because, you know, they might see footage of me playing live at some nice place, or people might see me perform live, and it's just hasn't always been that way. And my first easily 20 shows, I wasn't paid anything. And I know that sounds really brutal, right? But at the same time, you have to understand that when you are brand new to something, especially music, and you reach out to a venue and they give you a shot, if they've never heard about you, you've never stepped foot on stage and performed live, you have to understand that you are a risk to them. So they're not open to maybe paying right away because we're giving you a Friday night time to perform live in front of a big crowd. They're not willing to do that yet because they don't know what you can bring. And that's where you build up those chops. So if you're just now getting up on stage or looking to do it, maybe you have a gig coming up and it's your first show, for example, use your first handful of shows as just getting down the basics, getting more comfortable with everything, learning the ins and outs. Again, it's a lifelong journey, but learning the ins and outs of what it takes to set up, perform, tear down, doing all that successfully, because that is kind of the premise of that. And for me, it took probably until maybe like show number 20 to finally get paid like $50, my first $50, including tips, obviously, from other people. And then eventually, you know, you get a show for $100, then $150, and then maybe you get, you know, a show that's $200 for 3 sets, and you just start getting the ball rolling. But that's going to take a while. It's not going to most likely be your first, obviously, 15 shows, 20 shows maybe even, but over time that is definitely in the cards for you. So I just want people to know, you know, you might see somebody perform live at a nice place and they might have a full tip jar, and, you know, they're getting the crowd engaged and everyone's liking the music, but it hasn't always been that way. And I want to be very transparent with everybody, because, you know, it's one thing to learn everything kind of on your own, I guess, but it's also good to learn some of these things that are very realistic from somebody that's done it a while and has kind of learned the ropes. And like I said before, in my instance, just trying to share what I've gathered and learned over the years. And same thing goes, that's paying your dues. And the same thing goes when it comes to teaching. Not everybody wants to teach music, but if somebody is looking into, what's the way that I can make money with the guitar? Because I love guitar and maybe I'm not ready to perform live yet. Well, I think that teaching is a good way to start. And for me personally, I started off with seeing 2 to 3 students a week. And I had to actually work part-time at a gym because I couldn't pay all my bills. This was many years ago now when I was about 18. But then, you stay persistent. You slowly invest in yourself. You build a website. You purchase business cards. You set up a Facebook page where you advertise on Facebook or social media. And slowly people start to know who you are and what you do. And, my first year, from month 1 of teaching to probably like the end of the first year, I might have gained a handful of students. I might have been seeing maybe like 7 or 8 students a week, but that's not quite enough yet to make it a full-time gig if that's what you want to do. And same thing goes with year 2 and year 3. By the end of year 3 years into teaching, I was maybe seeing somewhere between 15 to maybe 20 students a week, which is good. And at that time I was, definitely, I quit my job at the gym and I was able to teach full time in that sense. And then by, year 4 and year 5, now your roster is full. You actually can't bring on any students, and maybe you're seeing 30 to 40 students a week. And that's a great spot to be in. But I know I really just kind of compacted that all within a short time frame. But when you think about how, the timeline of 4 to 5 years, it could take you that long to finally build enough momentum to have a full roster of students where you're able to pay all of your bills, you're comfortable. You actually, unfortunately, have to turn down students or people that are calling you, maybe put them on a wait list. Your first year, 2 years, even 3 years, it's all about just learning the ropes, building, not feeling, what's a good term? Sedentary in your ways. I'm always learning. I'm always trying to find new ways to get better and do bigger, better things. And I think that's something that you always want to make sure you're doing. And I'll kind of tail that into the next gig talk episode that we'll do together. But it's all about being a sponge, being open to learning more, especially from those that know more about something than you do, or maybe does something more successfully than you do. It's just learning from them, from those experiences, which can save you a lot of time, maybe years of headache and stuff like that. But I just pulled into the show. I do have about an hour to kind of set up and get ready, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. But again, if you guys like videos like this, let me know. I just thought it'd be kind of a cool way to, just sit and talk in a pretty unedited version or in an unedited way, just to share some information and just some thoughts that I've had recently. And I think that even if a couple people just get something out of it, I think that's definitely worth it. So if you guys like videos like this, let me know. Definitely subscribe if you haven't yet. That supports us here a ton at the channel. And I'll be coming out with videos every single week just like this.